Morning, everybody. I'm not going to use the podium. First, there's no microphone over there. Second of all, I like to stroll a little bit. I appreciate you inviting us in to your meeting. Our objective here is to share some information that should help you become more productive. What we believe is that successful organizations are built on two processes: the people and the back process, which is built in the procedures and the investment the organization makes into the company. And a lot of companies do not pay attention to the people aspect, spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in process, in software, in technology. But they don't really put a lot of effort into building the people skills. Now, what makes a successful company is a good leadership program. We all know that. We hear that when we deal with the military. And we talk about the military and how they won battles because they were led by special generals. But in our organizations, we don't pay attention to the same thing because we look at it and saying, there's a leader who sits atop the organization. And we don't look at ourselves as each being leaders in our own divide, in our own area. And we're going to try to focus today on making you all leaders and identifying what is a true leader and what are his leadership skills. What we want to do, though, is we want to start out, and it's got to, I call myself sometimes, most people don't, an entertainer. All right? Because I like to entertain as I train. The reason I call myself that and other people don't is sometimes people don't laugh. So I'm hoping that you guys can humor me a little bit, and if my jokes are lousy, you can talk about it in private, but I'd like to know that they look good. Okay? So we're going to try to work with this. I want to start with some video that I really believe is inspiring.
This kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Whenever let somebody tell you you can't do something, you got a dream, you gotta protect it. People can't do something themselves, they wanna tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Great moments. Born great opportunity. And that's what you have. That's what you earned here tonight. I wrestled with an alligator. That's right. I have wrestled with an alligator. I have tussled with a whale. I have handcuffed lightning, through dungeon jail. That's bad. Only last week, I've murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick. Hey, dude. Fast. Last night I cut the light off my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. Fast. You, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I'm looking. All of you, I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in color. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now. Believe me. And
We can stay here, get the kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time.
And for a long time now, you've been hearing me talk about being perfect. And I want you to understand something. To me, being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship to yourself and your family and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down because you told them the truth. And that truth is that you did everything that you could. There wasn't one more thing that you could have done. Can you live in that moment as best you can with clear eyes and love in your heart? With joy in your heart. If you can do that, Junior, then you're perfect.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go on and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, the greatest fulfillment of all that he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious.
Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
Men will still say, this was their finest hour.
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Is that beautiful? Let me tell you. How great can you be? And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. What we want to do, though, is I want to first, if we can, start out with a little exercise. So if you guys could humor me a little bit and stand up. Do you have any room, ladies? Because what I want you to do is I just want to reach up to the sky as far as you can. Go ahead, reach as far as you can. Now, reach a little further. All right, all of a sudden, first time I asked you to reach as far as you could. But everybody had a lot more to reach a lot further, didn't we? And this is what we do in life. You guys can sit down, that's all right. Thank you. What we're dealing with is you have the ability to reach further. And as we saw in that video, we have to really strive and direct ourselves and motivate and drive ourselves and drive the people around us. And that's the challenge we're going to try to deal with today. Okay? My meeting with Milan was pretty special because it seems like your organization, from what we learned, is focused on what we call empowering leadership versus what we've all grown up with, control leadership. And we're going to talk about the difference between control leadership and empowering leadership and how we build a high-performance organization by empowering all the people and ourselves to achieve higher levels, just like we did when we were able to reach a little higher, reach a little longer. Okay? If you go back to a few of these great quotes on leadership, before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is about growing others. Jack Welch. Leadership is lifting a person's vision to high heights and raising a person's performance to a higher standard and building of a person. Is my blackie you guys view? Beyond its normal limitations. Peter Drucker. The best executive is one who has sense enough to pick good men and do what it wants done, and self-restraint enough to keep meddling from letting them do what they're capable of doing. Theodore Roosevelt. Definition of leadership. The capacity and will to rally men and women to a common purpose and the character which inspires confidence. General Montgomery. Great leaders are always great simplifiers who can cut through the argument, debate, and doubt to offer solutions so everybody can understand it. Communication is so essential. And if your actions, and that's General Colin Powell, and if your actions inspire others to dream more, do more, and become more, you're a true leader. So we have to look deep in ourselves and speak about the people we're working with, we're working for, even our customers. Are we driving them? Are we leading them? Are we encouraging them? Are we motivating them to be better? And that's what these gentlemen have been telling us. And I got to tell you something. The building of people is essential. And a lot of us look at it and say, it's not my job. I have managers, it's their job. And we're going to try to break through that thinking today. What I want to do again is I want to just do a little skit that we have set up. And I'd like Ed, if you could play the role of a employee. And I'd like 2 volunteers. One to come up and play a controlling manager, and one to come up and play an empowering manager. Any volunteers? Okay. One more?
I'm the employee, so I'm
You're
the controller. Should I sit down or?
No, you could come up.
They're going to make me be the controller.
Here's the deal. Ed used to be a good employee, all right? But all of a sudden, showing up late for work, his performance is a little, half of what it should have been. And the managers are talking about how to deal with Ed. So now we have the controlling manager, and we have the empowering manager. I'd like you guys to give me your rendition of what that would be. The controlling manager.
Copy that.
Look at Ed.
Ed, you're late again. I had enough of it. Next time you do it, you're fired. My controller.
That's controlling. Empowering?
Don't make me manage you. If I have to sit there and count every day you come in at 9 o'clock, there's big problems, fix it, or I'll fix it.
Well, that's a little controlling. I guess I was wrong about fast.
Great, buddy, you're doing great.
I guess I was wrong about fast being an empowered organization. Yeah, reverse it.
Okay, reverse it.
Although you don't have to go too far to be controlled. All right, remember, it used to be a great asset to the
That's
organization.
Dave, calm down.
You didn't really set it up. You didn't really tee it up for me.
Used to be a
Have
great
that
asset.
back, man, come on.
I'll give you the Milan. We really appreciate the fact that you've done such a good job. And if there's anything we can do to really help you get in at 9 o'clock, we're more than willing to do that.
We'll pick you up.
I would say was, hey Ed, I noticed you've been coming in late. What's going on, man? Is there a problem at home? Is there other issues? What's going on? Talk to me. That's what I would do. And draw it out.
That's an empowering manager. One who really tries to find out the difficulties and doesn't try to cut the head off the neck. But we've all been working. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Doing all those extra.
By the way, just wanted to tell you guys, this is a stress ball. Please, if you're going to use it, take it out of the plastic container. Doesn't work with inside of it. Okay. High-performance leadership is providing leaders with tools and skills to change their behavior from traditional practices to controlling and directing, coaching, facilitating, and empowering. That's what we're going to deal with. We've all been around managers and leaders who basically have that controlling aspect, who basically don't care about driving you. They care about the final solution of empowerment that they have. And their job of empowerment is just to themselves, not to everyone else. We need to power ourselves for others. We need to drive others to make everybody become better. So, before we get started, and this is where the jokes come in, guys, all right? This is where I expect good laughter, even if they're pathetic. All right? I have what I call wild witticisms. Every one of my training sessions starts out with usually about half a dozen, but I spared you guys, and I only have 3. Okay? Wilde's witticisms. These are Wilde's leadership witticisms. If you try to fail and succeed at it, which have you done? I guess the joking part didn't go over well. Teamwork's essential, allows you to blame someone else. Back to the controlling manager. And then give a man a fish, it'll eat for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he'll sit in the boat and drink beer all day. That's usually what I do. So I don't catch fish. You know, that would be called catching. I go fishing and drinking. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to accomplish today. We're going to go over 8 points of high-performance leadership. And the goal here is to develop a high-performance organization. And we're going to do that through different steps. We're going to go through the steps of establishing what is a leader. We're going to talk about the principles of empowerment. We're going to go over the roles, the 5 roles needed to be an excellent leader. And then we're going to give you guys an assessment, which you can take home with you. Open book test. You can cheat on yourselves. It doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to be available tomorrow or the day after if you'd like to call us and go over it with us, or you can just learn a lot of benefits from the assessment itself. It's a 70-question assessment which will allow you to determine where your strengths and weaknesses are as a true leader. And then we're going to talk about personnel productivity. We're going to go into the fundamentals of high-performance teams. Remember, as leaders, we're building high-performance teams, and then high-performance teams are generating high-performance organizations. That's the flow we're going to work with. Then we're going to talk about performance expectations and how to empower others. So the first part is going to be, let's break down what is empowering. What is the difference between controlling and empowering? Leadership factor. Leadership's the most important aspect of sustaining long-term business success. Everybody believe that? Who believes they're a good leader? Everybody here believe? Why do you think you're a good leader? Yeah, I'm going to pull you out. I'm good at embarrassing.
I'm not a micromanager. I like to empower people.
So empowerment. You like to empower people. Yours? No reason?
I like to empower people as well. I give them responsibilities and let them come with ideas on how to handle it.
Establish boundaries and then let them go, just like the leaders told us in their quotes. Anybody else on this side? You guys who run the company, any good leaders here? I guess not. Huh?
Pretty much. Basically, you allow people to own it. If it's their, it's their future, and they need to own what they're doing and be responsible.
Some of the times what we do is mistakes. We put people in place who haven't been trained, they don't really shouldn't have that position, and they fail, and we blame them for failure when we really position the wrong person in that task. So what we want to do here is I also identify what we need to do to make sure we're addressing the right people and growing those right people, because you're absolutely right. If you set people up in a position where you give them autonomy to make decisions, they can be successful if they have the support, the training, and the boundaries that they know where they can go. So we're going to discuss what those boundaries are as we go forward. Leaders have the power to make things happen and influence an organization. Leaders are responsible for all of the factors, understanding customers, markets, and developing a strategy. Leaders provide the vision, inspiration, and direction. Does everybody know what their mission and vision statement is in the organization? Can anybody recite it?
Relationships, not statistics.
Is that the whole vision?
Boiled down.
Boiled down? 3 words? Anybody else have to know the vision of the organization? Or the mission statement? It's essential that you really learn what the mission statement and the vision is of an organization, because this is what's driving us all to achieve that commonality of success. And a lot of times, people don't even know what they're supposed to be doing at their jobs. They might do them well, or they might not do them well, but they just don't know what the real boundaries are for them to accomplish their tasks. You sit down as a job performance, and a person, you didn't do your job. You say, you never told me my job was. How do I know if I'm failing or succeeding? Well, the same thing when you're running an organization or running in an organization. The vision of the organization is what everybody here is trying to achieve. The vision, we're all trying to get there. The management has established the direction of what they want to do, and they established that vision, and we must attain that. Leaders create the infrastructure, processes, systems, and structures, what I spoke about before. We're very big on building the processes and infrastructure to develop a business, but what do we do to develop the people to sustain the structures, the processes, and the infrastructure of the business? Little myths about leadership. We all think we know about what a leader is. We say a leader is a general, a leader is an owner of a company sometimes. But really, we're all leaders. So leadership's a rare skill. That's a myth. We believe that other people have the skills to be leaders. In some cases, we believe they're born as leaders. But the truth is, they're not. They're grown. They're encouraged. They're trained. They're motivated. They're driven to be leaders. Sure, some people are quiet. And this is the third part. Effective leaders are character. Thank you, appreciate it. My mouth is locked up. It does that at times. My wife appreciates when that happens. She hopes it happens more. That's it. Effective characteristics. Is everybody who's a leader charismatic? Is everybody a leader have to be charismatic? Gandhi? Mother Teresa? Even Nelson Mandela? Were they charismatic? But they were great leaders, and they had many people following them. It wasn't about being charismatic. And some of you basically say, well, I'm too quiet to be a leader. Not true. It's not about your charisma. It's about basically how you drive people, motivate them. And we're going to go into understanding how to motivate people later. And leaders control, direct, and produce. Is that true? Leaders sit around and just think of new processes. They never encourage. There's a story going back to the Revolutionary War where a gentleman who was in a horse and buggy was riding by the military of the American troops, and he basically saw that there was a general sitting on the side, and a bunch of his people were digging holes, digging trenches, trying to protect themselves. And this person in the buggy said, why aren't you helping your people? Why aren't you leading them to build this? He says, I don't do that, that's their job. Well, the person who was in the buggy happened to be General George Washington. He got out of the buggy, picked up a shovel, and helped them build trenches. Do you think people look at that and say, I want to follow that guy? Absolutely. Because they believe that that person really cares, really has the loyalty, the commitment to follow. And that's what he did. The other general, of course, well, since Washington was his superior, we never heard from him again. But that was what happened. Let's talk about controlling versus empowerment. Now, by the way, this is your exercise, guys. If you guys want to jump in at any time, don't. No, just anytime you want to, just please say what you want to do. Let's talk about it, have an open forum. This is about your game, okay? What's a controlling manager, controlling leader? He imposes external controls on you. Tells you you have to do it a certain way. And what are the effects of those tactics? Higher costs, and people do the minimum amount of work just to satisfy a controlling manager. You told me what to do, I did it, and that's it. No more. But an empowering manager, which we'll speak about in a bit, basically drives people to want to own it, as you said, and do more. Controllism. What's behind the behavior? People cannot be trusted. Have we ever worked, and you won't listen, for a narcissist before? Anybody worked for a narcissist before? Anybody in a position where that person really just motivated you specifically so you can accomplish what he wanted for the benefit of himself? I worked for him. We built a hell of a company, but the cost of the people that were involved was tremendous. And basically, it doesn't last. In this case, controllers, he didn't trust people. He felt basically he needed to do it himself because he could do it better. Now, do you ever run into delegating? How many of you have people working for you directly? Do you ever get into a position where you don't delegate because you could say, I can do it better? You ever feel that way at times? Yeah, that's something we all fall into, saying, I'll do it because I can get it done better. I'll be more efficient. But that's the problem in not trusting your people. And when you're involved in a situation where you don't trust your people, there are things we can do to trust them, to empower them. We train them, we educate them, and we're going to talk about coaching them as well. Different than training them, coaching them. And then, back to the narcissist, I'm more important than everybody else, so everything revolves around me, so I want to make that happen. Now, the empowerer, what tactics they use to accomplish their objectives? They want to motivate and get people committed to feel ownership in what their jobs are. For example, the empowerer would encourage brainstorming and feedback. Sessions and meetings where they encourage you to share. It's not what I'm telling you what to do all the time. It's a matter of let's get from you. You're in the front lines. You're working every day. Tell me how we can better the company. Tell me how we can grow the organization. He encourages that kind of feedback. And the effects and tactics of goals are achieved, new ideas and processes are formed, and companies grow. Now, the empowerer, what are the beliefs behind the behavior of an empowerer? He trusts people. He believes if I give you this responsibility, you're going to make me successful. My goal in life, guys, as a manager, was to sit down, do as little as possible, and have everybody make me happy. Make everybody make me look good. And you can only do that if you have people you can trust working for you. And people going out there and doing their jobs and understanding that their jobs are in the same realm as what you're asking them to do. They believe the same way you do. They have the same vision you have. Even in a smaller aspect of an organization, in different teams, there's a vision. It's a piece of the big vision. Does that make sense?